the first thing that hits you is the silence. You're standing in a building designed for thousands of people, built to handle the noise of crowds, the chaos of shoppers, the energy of life. But right now, there's maybe a dozen people in the entire complex. And the silence is so heavy you can feel it pressing against your eardrums. The lights flicker overhead, the ones that still work. Half the bulbs are dead. The fountain in the center court is dry, filled with debris and dead leaves. There is a fallen ceiling tile just sitting in the middle of the walkway like no one has bothered to pick it up in months. Because no one has. You walk past store after store, and they're all the same. Metal gates pulled down. Windows either soap-covered or broken. Some still have mannequins inside, frozen in poses from seasons past, like plastic ghosts modeling clothes no one will ever buy. This is Rolling Acres Mall in Akron, Ohio, and it's one of the deadest malls in America. But here's what gets me. This place wasn't built to fail. It was built in 1975 with the expectation that it would be here forever. 2 anchor stores, dozens of shops, a food court, movie theater, everything a community could want. At its peak, this mall saw 20,000 visitors a day. 20,000 people every single day. Now, you could fire a cannon down the main corridor and not hit anyone. So what happened? How does something built to last generations die within 40 years? And why are there still a handful of stores clinging to life in one corner like survivors of some retail apocalypse? What I found inside wasn't just abandoned stores. It was a time capsule of American dreams gone wrong, a monument to the rise and fall of an entire era, and the story of how this place died. It's the story of how America changed, whether we realized it or not. To understand how malls die, you need to understand what they were supposed to be. Because the American shopping mall wasn't just about buying stuff. It was a social experiment. The guy who invented the modern mall was an Austrian architect named Victor Grün. In the 1950s, he had this vision: create an indoor town square where people could gather, socialize, and shop, all protected from the weather. A community center wrapped in retail. And for a few decades, it worked. It really worked. If you grew up in the 80s or 90s, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The mall wasn't just where you bought clothes. It was where you hung out, where teenagers went on first dates, where you meet your friends after school and just exist. You walk around for hours, maybe buy something, maybe not. You grab Orange Julius, play some arcade games, watch people. The mall was what sociologists call a third place, not home, not work or school, but that essential third space where community happens. At their peak in the 1990s, there were over 1,500 enclosed shopping malls in America. They accounted for more than 50% of all retail sales. 50%! Half of all shopping in America happened inside these climate-controlled temples of consumption. And they were packed. Black Friday at the mall was a cultural phenomenon. The food court was where you'd see everyone from your school. The movie theater was date night headquarters. These places had their own ecosystem, their own social rules, their own identity. Developers built these things to last. We're talking 30, 40, 50-year investments. Millions of square feet of retail space, anchor department stores locked into 20-year leases, infrastructure designed for decades of use. And it wasn't just about capitalism. Malls became genuine community spaces. Seniors would mall walk in the mornings before stores opened. Parents would bring kids to play areas. Community events happened in the center courts. For people who lived through that era, malls hold real memories. First jobs at the Gap, birthday parties at the arcade, the specific smell of Cinnabon mixed with department store perfume, the feeling of possibility walking through those doors. If you're Gen Z, this probably sounds alien. Hanging out at a mall? Just walking around a building? For fun. But trust me, for millions of Americans, this was life. These places were built with the assumption that this model, the mall as community center, would last forever. Rolling Acres Mall opened in July 1975 in Akron, Ohio. It was massive, over 1.4 million square feet of retail space. 2 anchor stores, JCPenney and O'Neill's. Later, they'd add a Target. At its peak, the mall had over 140 stores. This was a big deal for Akron. The mall was positioned as a destination, a sign that the city was thriving. And for a while, it was. But that was a long time ago. Walking through Rolling Acres today is like exploring a mausoleum. The scale of the place makes the emptiness worse. These corridors were designed for crowds, for flow, for thousands of people moving through. Now it's just you and the echo of your own footsteps. You peer into the stores that haven't been completely cleared out, and it's eerie. There's a Claire's with jewelry still in the display cases, a shoe store with a few pairs still on shelves covered in dust. It's like everyone just left. The walls still have advertisements from 2006, 2007, back when stores were still trying. Grand opening for shops that lasted maybe a year before giving up. The mall directory is still standing in the center court, but most of the store names have been removed. Just blank spaces where dozens of businesses used to be. The few names that remain, they're like survivors' names on a memorial. GameStop, closed. Radio Shack, closed. Walden Books, closed. Each gate pulled down is like a little death. But then you turn a corner and you hear something. Music, voices. There's still life here. Sort of. Rolling Acres has maybe 3 or 4 tenants left. A Planet Fitness gym converted one of the anchor stores. There's a church renting space. A couple other random businesses holding on. I watched a guy walk into the gym and the contrast was surreal. He's here to work out, to better himself in a building that's actively dying around him. Behind the gym's walls, the rest of the mall is rotting. They've literally walled off the dead sections, like quarantining a disease. You can work out, but don't look behind the drywall. Don't think about the fact that you're exercising in a tomb. The fountain in the center court is dry. It's filled with trash, leaves, a McDonald's cup from God knows when. This used to be the meeting spot. Meet me at the fountain. Now it's a planter for garbage. The seating areas where people used to rest between stores are falling apart. Benches broken, tile cracked. There's water damage on the ceiling, dark stains spreading like bruises. Some of the skylights are broken. You can hear wind whistling through. In the summer, it gets brutally hot. In winter, freezing. The climate control that made this place special, it's long dead. There's a security guard making rounds. I wonder what that job is like. What are you securing? Who are you protecting this place from? The building is its own worst enemy at this point. But here's what I kept thinking as I walked through. This didn't happen overnight. Malls don't just die suddenly. There's a pattern, a specific sequence of events that leads to this. And once you understand the pattern, you start seeing it everywhere. Here's how a mall dies. It's not random. It's predictable, almost mechanical. Stage 1, an anchor store closes. Usually it's Sears, JCPenney, or Macy's, the big department stores that anchor the ends of the mall. These stores are massive and they're the main draw. People come to the mall specifically to shop at the anchor, then browse the smaller stores in between. When an anchor closes, foot traffic drops immediately. If people were walking from the parking lot through the anchor to get into the mall, now they have to find another entrance. Many just don't bother. Stage 2, the stores near the dead anchor start bleeding. Those smaller stores were surviving on the foot traffic the anchor generated. Now that's gone. Sales drop. They start missing rent payments. Some close immediately. Others limp along for a while, hoping things improve. They don't. Stage 3, the dead anchor effect. Now you've got an entire wing of the mall that's basically dead. Empty anchor store. Half the small stores close. It becomes a ghost town. And here's the psychological part: shoppers avoid dead zones. Even if there's a store they like in that wing, they don't want to walk through the creepy abandoned section to get there. So those remaining stores in the dead wing, they die too. It's like a disease spreading. Stage 4, the negative feedback loop. The mall's owner is now in crisis mode. Revenue is down because stores are closing, but they still have maintenance costs on 1.4 million square feet. They start cutting costs. Less security, less maintenance, less marketing, which makes the mall less appealing, which means fewer shoppers, which means more stores close, which means less revenue, which means more cuts. It's a death spiral. Stage 5, the food court dies. This is when you know it's terminal. The food court is the social heart of the mall. When it dies, the mall stops being a gathering place and becomes just a box with stores. At Rolling Acres, the food court closed in stages. First, the smaller vendors left, then Sparrow, then the Chinese place that's in every mall food court. Eventually, it was just one Subway clinging to life, serving maybe a dozen people a day. Then even Subway gave up. Stage 6, only the desperate remain. The final stage is when the mall stops being a mall and becomes just cheap real estate. The remaining tenants aren't retail, they're gyms, churches, call centers, anything that needs space and doesn't care about foot traffic. For Rolling Acres, this process took about 15 years. The first anchor closed in the late 90s. By 2008, the writing was on the wall. By 2013, the mall was basically dead. But why Rolling Acres specifically? What triggered the death spiral? Several factors, all hitting at once. First, Akron's economy collapsed. Akron was a manufacturing city. Tire factories, rubber industry, blue-collar jobs. Those jobs left. Outsourced, automated, gone. When the jobs leave, spending power leaves. Second, newer competition. A newer, nicer mall opened nearby. Plus, big box stores Target, Walmart started dominating. Why drive to the mall when you can get everything at one store with easier parking? Third, early e-commerce. This was right when online shopping started becoming normal. Not Amazon dominates everything yet, but enough to chip away at mall traffic. Fourth, the 2008 financial crisis. This was the death blow. Retail was already struggling, and then the economy imploded. Consumer spending dropped off a cliff. Stores that were barely hanging on couldn't survive. The mall's owners tried. They really did. They attempted renovations, tried attracting new anchors, offered incentives to keep stores. But you can't fight a perfect storm. And behind every closed store is a real human cost. Jobs lost, careers ended, people who worked at that JCPenney for 20 years suddenly unemployed in a dying economy. For the community, it's not just about shopping, it's about losing a place. Where do teenagers hang out now? Where do seniors do their morning walks? That third place Victor Gruen envisioned? It's gone. And for the mall owners, it's a financial nightmare. They're stuck with a massive building that costs a fortune to maintain but generates almost no income. They can't just walk away. There are leases, obligations, taxes. So it sits, dying slowly. Too expensive to demolish, too worthless to save. But here's the thing, Rolling Acres isn't unique. This exact pattern has played out hundreds of times across America. And the factors that killed Rolling Acres, they're not specific to Akron. They're everywhere. Since 2010, more than 500 enclosed shopping malls have closed in the United States. 500. And another 300 to 400 are in serious decline, operating at less than 50% capacity. That means about half of America's malls are either dead or dying. And yeah, everyone wants to blame Amazon. The narrative is simple: online shopping killed malls. Jeff Bezos murdered American retail. But that's not the whole story. It's not even most of the story. Amazon accelerated the death, sure, but malls were already sick before prime shipping existed. The disease was deeper. The real cause? Culture shifted. Economists talk about the experience economy. Younger generations, millennials, and especially Gen Z spend their money differently than their parents did. They'd rather pay for a concert than a new outfit. They'd rather travel than buy stuff. There's a whole cultural movement around owning less. Minimalism. Marie Kondo. The idea that stuff doesn't make you happy. Whether you agree with it or not, it's real, and it's killed the shop till you drop mentality. And then there's the social aspect. Gen Z doesn't hang out at malls because they don't hang out physically, period. They're socializing online. Why go to the mall to see what your friends are up to when you can just check Instagram? The third place didn't disappear, it digitized. Discord servers, group chats, online gaming communities. That's where community happens now. For older people, this feels like a loss. For younger people, it's just normal. They don't miss malls because they never had the mall experience to begin with. And there's a structural problem too. Malls were designed for a world that no longer exists. They were built assuming everyone drives, everyone shops during the day, and everyone wants everything in one big box. But cities are changing. People want walkable neighborhoods, mixed-use developments, places that integrate into communities rather than dominate them. The successful retail spaces today, they're outdoor. They're mixed with restaurants, apartments, offices. They're destinations, not boxes. Malls are architectural dinosaurs. So what happens to all these dead malls? What do you do with 1.4 million square feet of obsolete retail space? Some get demolished. Entire buildings just erased. The land gets repurposed for housing or offices, or sometimes just sits empty because no one knows what to do with it. Some become Amazon fulfillment centers. I'm not kidding. The very thing that killed malls now occupies their corpses. The irony is almost poetic. Some get creative reuse. Community colleges, churches, One mall in Cleveland became an indoor farm. But these are exceptions. Most just sit. Too expensive to demolish, too big to repurpose, too worthless to maintain. They become blight, eyesores, monuments to failure. And the environmental cost is staggering. Millions of square feet of concrete, steel, glass, mountains of materials going to landfills when malls get demolished. Resources that went into building something designed to last 50 years, now wasted after 20. We're watching an entire building type go extinct in real time. In 50 years, enclosed shopping malls might be as rare as drive-in theaters are now. And what's wild is how fast it happened. Rolling Acres went from 20,000 visitors a day to total abandonment in less than 2 decades. A building opened in 1975 with the expectation it would serve Akron for generations was dead by 2013. That is 38 years. One generation. Think about what else we assumed was permanent. What else are we watching die without quite realizing it? But statistics and economics don't capture the real loss. Because when a mall dies, a community loses something real. And that's what I wanted to understand next. What did this place actually mean to people? I talked to a woman named Carol who worked at the JCPenney at Rolling Acres for 18 years. Started there in 1989, left in 2007 when her store closed. She told me about the job, sure, but mostly she talked about the people, her work friends who became real friends, the regular customers she knew by name. The teenagers who came in every weekend, the same ones, year after year, until they grew up and had kids of their own. It wasn't just a job, she said. It was where my life happened. She met her husband at that mall. He worked at the music store across the corridor. They'd take lunch breaks together at the food court. When that mall died, it wasn't just a store closing. It was the place where her entire adult life had taken shape. She showed me pictures from Christmas at the mall. The decorations, the Santa setup, the crowds. It felt magical, she said. The whole community came together. Now it's gone. And nothing replaced it. That's the part that haunts me. It's not just that the mall died. It's that nothing filled the void. No new community space emerged. No new third place. Just nothing. We have more ways to connect than ever before. Social media, video calls, instant messaging. But we have fewer places to actually be together, physically present, in the same space. And maybe that's why dead malls have become this weird phenomenon. Urban explorers documenting them, photographers capturing the decay, YouTube channels dedicated to dead mall tours. There are entire communities online devoted to mall nostalgia, people sharing memories, posting old photos, mourning something that's hard to articulate. What we're really mourning isn't the shopping, it's the experience of being part of something. The casual social interaction, the serendipity of running into someone you know, the feeling that you're part of a community that physically exists in space. Modern life is efficient. You can buy anything you want with a click, but efficiency isn't the same as fulfillment. Now, not all malls are dying. The ones that survive are the ones that evolved. They stopped being about shopping and became about experiences. Movie theaters, trendy restaurants, arcade bars, climbing walls, experiential stores where you interact with products. They became destinations, not just shopping centers. The American Dream Mall in New Jersey has an indoor ski slope. The Grove in LA feels like a theme park. These places aren't just stores, they're entertainment. But Rolling Acres? It never got that chance. By the time the industry figured out the new model, it was too late. The economic factors, the timing, the location, everything worked against it. And so it sits, a monument to a very specific moment in American history, a time when we thought suburban retail palaces would last forever. Someone designed this place. Architects drew plans, engineers solved problems, construction workers built it. All that human effort, all that hope and intention, now serving no purpose? Nature doesn't care about our grand plans. Water finds its way in through the broken skylights. Plants start growing in the cracks. Slowly, inevitably, the building returns to the earth. For the handful of people who still use this space, gym members, church congregants, it's just where they go. They don't think about the ghosts. They don't mourn what's gone. But for people like Carol, walking past this place is a kind of grief. And that's the human cost that doesn't show up in economic reports. The loss of place, the loss of memory, the loss of community. Which brings us to the question, what does all of this actually mean? It's closing time at Rolling Acres. Not that it matters much, there's barely anyone here to close out. But the gym is locking up, the security guard is finishing his rounds, and the lights are going off section by section. In a few hours, this massive building will sit in complete darkness, silent except for the wind through broken skylights and the settling of a structure slowly giving up. This building is a monument, not to success, but to a specific moment in time when we thought we had it figured out, when we believed the American mall was the future, permanent and unchanging. And Rolling Acres is just one of hundreds telling the same story. From Ohio to California, Pennsylvania to Texas, these massive structures sitting empty, witnesses to how fast everything can change. It makes you wonder, what else are we watching die in real time without fully realizing it? What other institutions feel permanent right now but won't survive the next 20 years? Cable TV? Already mostly dead. Traditional offices? Hybrid work changed that forever. Newspapers? Gasping for air. Even the things that feel solid right now are probably more fragile than we think. In 30 years, will Gen Alpha be making videos about dead Amazon warehouses? Inside the most abandoned fulfillment center in America, walking through massive automated systems that are now obsolete? The cycle continues. Nothing is permanent. Everything is temporary. Each generation builds monuments to their version of the future, and the next generation inherits ruins. That's not good or bad. It's just how time works. But it's worth pausing to notice what we're losing. Not because we can stop it, we probably can't, but because these places matter to real people. They hold real memories, real moments of real lives. For Carol, for the thousands of people who worked here, who grew up here, who built their lives around this place, Rolling Acres isn't just an economic case study. It's a piece of their identity. The first kiss at the food court, the job application at 16, the Friday nights wandering with friends. These moments happen in a physical space, and when that space dies, something dies with it. But Gen Z has their own spaces, their own way of connecting, their own memories being made. They're not worse off because they don't have malls. They're just different. Just like Gen X didn't need the drive-in theaters and soda fountains that boomers had. Just like millennials didn't need the community centers that previous generations built their social lives around. Change isn't good or bad. It just is. But it is worth remembering, worth documenting, worth pausing to acknowledge that something real is ending. Because in the rush toward whatever comes next, we rarely stop to really see what's passing away. Rolling Acres Mall will probably be demolished eventually. The land will be cleared, maybe redeveloped, maybe not. Either way, the physical structure will cease to exist. But the memories, those persist. In the people who lived them. In videos like this. In the weird corners of the internet where strangers share photos and stories of a place that meant something, even if they can't quite articulate what. That's the thing about places. They're never just buildings. They're containers for human experience. And when they go, they take something with them that can't quite be replaced. Next time you're in a mall, if you can find one, take a look around. Really look. Notice the people, the sounds, the life still happening in these spaces. Because this moment, it's not going to last as long as you think. Nothing ever does.